Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? Thank you all for joining me. This is Ifeoma Odunlami, immigration attorney from the Odunlami Law Firm in Cedar Knolls, New Jersey. I just wanted to come in real quick and talk about a couple of things. A couple of things that I've been seeing in during my consultations, and I kind of thought maybe it'd be a good idea to bring it to you guys, your notice. So I was supposed to do a live because I'm trying to do my lives on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we had a really horrible winter storm yesterday, so we worked from home, and yeah, so that's why I'm here today. So I will try to get back here tomorrow because I'm really trying to do Tuesday and Thursdays. So thank you for joining me, guys. Say hello when you join. I love to see your posts. And if you have any questions, please put it on the chat, and I will get to it when I'm done. And as always, remember, I'm not offering legal advice. This is information. I cannot offer legal advice without knowing the content and extent of the issues you're having, because advice typically can differ based on somebody's particular story. So, thank you, Patty Ozano from Dallas, Texas, Summer Brew, Undisputed Black Man, and Abonu Gloria. Thank you, guys. Josit Omomi, happy to have you guys. So, I just want to talk about some of the pitfalls I'm seeing based on some of the consultations I've been having. The first one that really comes to mind, which for some reason I've been seeing it quite a bit, is people filing asylum after the 1 year period. Now, for those who want to file asylum, you know that you have to file your asylum application within a year of coming into the United States. Now, there's an exception. There's an exception for exceptional circumstances that prevented you from filing the asylum. Typically, it could be something with to do with a changed circumstance in your country that makes it difficult, makes it impossible for you to go back, or there was some extraordinary hardship that you were going through. But it has to be really good. And the reason I say it has to be a really great reason for not filing within the 1 year period is this. Most asylum cases are not approved by USCIS, really a high percentage, like probably over 90%. So most times, this cases, the affirmative asylum, which is the filing you have with USCIS, it's referred to immigration court, which is the beginning of deportation proceedings. So in immigration court, an asylum petitioner can reestablish their asylum, their petition for asylum, and then the judge makes a decision. But the reason it bothers me to have people filing asylum when they may not qualify is because the US you by filing the asylum case, you bring yourself to USCIS's notice, right? And if you bring yourself to USCIS's notice in a negative way, which means in a way where they're likely going to not approve your asylum case and they're likely to put you in removal proceedings, then that means you pretty much set yourself up to be removed, because a lot of people here who are undocumented, but USCIS is not looking for them, typically. Then at least in most administrations, they're not really looking for you unless you have committed a crime, right? Well, in most administrations, the Trump administration was not that. And in some states such as Florida and Texas, you want to be careful because sometimes they stop people at traffic stops and all that. But for most people, there are many people who are undocumented, who are just living here. So unless you know that you have a good case, do you really want to bring yourself to USCIS's attention, is my question. Now, some people feel that, they're happy that when they file the asylum, they get the work permit and they can work and all that. That's all well and good. But remember, like I said, the work permit is there, but at some point, if your case is not approved by USCIS, you will be referred without a doubt to immigration. immigration court. Now, there are many denials in USCIS applications that don't necessarily get referred to immigration court, but asylum cases always get referred to to immigration court for deportation. And if you are filing outside the 1-year period and you don't have really good reason for that, I think that's really shooting yourself in the foot. But like I always say, people have a right to make decisions, even if it's not what I consider good decisions. But I don't want you to say, I did not know that this was going to be what would happen. So I'm seeing a lot of people filing this out of time asylum cases. And I'm always shocked because I'm like, who's filing these cases for them? Attorneys, notarios, paralegals. So my thing is, this is your case. So you need to know that there's a 1-year deadline. So if somebody's filing an asylum petition for you 10 years after you've been in the United States, you really want to make sure this is what you want to do. So that's my pitfall issue for asylum cases. All right. It's important to know this. So make sure if you or somebody else has this information. And some people, while in deportation proceedings, of course, may find another pathway to getting a green card. For instance, you're in deportation proceedings, you marry a U.S. citizen, you're in deportation proceedings, your U.S. citizen child turns 21. So if this is something you have calculated, well, go right ahead. That's a decision you can make for yourself, but you need to know the facts so that you can make this decision, okay? So the other thing I want to talk about is marriages and fake divorces. Guys, I cannot tell you how many people come to my office, their cases have been denied because they filed a divorce decree in their country and USCIS says it was not properly done. Now, I don't always believe that USCIS is right because sometimes, depending on the country, they just have a blanket impression that in certain countries their divorce decrees are always fake. So sometimes if you are very sure that your divorce decree is real, you should fight back, right? And you don't really have a lot of time to fight back. Typically it's 30 days, to either appeal or respond to a notice of intent to deny. So what I'm urging you guys now, even if you filed your petition already, assume they're going to question your divorce decree and begin trying to authenticate that divorce decree from your home country. Because a lot of countries, let me speak for Nigeria, I know they're not rushing to get you anything within 30 days. So you really want to start the process right now so that if you happen to get annoyed or a denial, you already have the paperwork. And for those who are not married yet, and you have a divorce from your country, your home country, either it's a divorce that your ex filed or that you filed, you want to authenticate that divorce decree. Make sure it's real before you marry your U.S. citizen or green card holder spouse. And now, let's talk about naturalization. That's another case I'm getting a lot of. For some reason, the past couple of weeks, 3 weeks, we've gotten a lot of people who a lot of people have come for consultation because they wanted to get my opinion on their naturalization application that was denied. So I've always said this, naturalization seems like an easy thing, and it's easy if you have nothing going on, like you have no criminal records, you have no inadmissibilities, you have no question mark to a prior filing, because sometimes USCIS for naturalization, they will go back and review the prior green card application, and they will check it with what you submitted for naturalization. Like a lot of people, this is one thing I see all the time, when they're applying for their green card, they don't name their children. And then when they're applying for naturalization, they bring in the kids, and USCIS is like, no, you didn't have this child. You never admitted you had this child. And that's a problem. or if you've been arrested or have any even minor criminal altercations that may lead UIS to think that you're not a person of good moral character. And that, I put it very loosely because that's a legal term, right? You want to talk to an attorney. We've had people who were arrested and we have had to, show that they're good people despite the arrest. And then for some people, you cannot file naturalization, during that window. There's a certain window that you cannot file for naturalization because your crime or your, misdeed falls within that period. So there's some people who come to my office wanting to file naturalization, and I have to tell them that you can never file naturalization because of A, B, C, D. So, but it's better to know than to file for naturalization and get denied. And sometimes they may even start the process to take your green card back. They can deny your application for naturalization and put you in removal proceedings. So filing for naturalization is not, as easy as just filling out forms. Immigration is never as easy as filling out forms, but people think it is because they're forms, right? However, what you don't know is that there are laws, and the questions in those forms, have their legal authority behind them. So you want to be careful that you are checking off the right boxes, you're answering the questions truthfully and correctly, because USCIS will, they're going to assume that everything you wrote down is true because you signed it. It's never an excuse that my attorney did it and I didn't know what I was doing, which is another thing I want to I'll get to you. A lot of people come to the office and I'm like, what were the prior information, prior forms? What prior documentation do you have? They don't have it. How do you not have something that you signed? You must collect from your attorney your completed package. You must collect it because not only do you need it for the future, but you need it if you need to talk to another attorney. And you must review any document or anything that you sign. You must. Okay. We had a client who an attorney put some wrong information, which she wasn't even aware of because they didn't give it to her when she completed it and they submitted it. I'm telling you guys, that should not be happening, okay? You want to review the documents, you want to make corrections if there are corrections to be made, and then you want to have the attorney send it and give you a copy, all right? So now let's talk about prosecutorial discretion. This is something I want you guys to take seriously. If you are in immigration proceedings, this is the time to see if you can get yourself out of deportation proceedings. And the reason is prosecutorial discretion is one area of immigration law that is dependent on the president and the law that they put in place. During Trump, prosecutorial discretion was dead, right? But during Biden, it came back. So if you are in immigration proceedings, this is the time to see if your case can be dismissed. You may not even have a pathway to getting a green card, maybe not, but maybe it could be dismissed based on certain conditions, So this is a time to check on that. And the last thing I'm going to say before I start taking questions, because I want to leave some time to take questions, is when you go for interviews, guys, if you're going for a work interview, you prepare. You're going for an immigration interview, you prepare. Review your forms, the forms you submitted. Review the documents you submitted, right? Not remembering things can be used against you. I mean, a lot of people don't remember things that happen because that happened a while ago. Because when you file the petition, typically you don't get called for an interview for another year, maybe 2, maybe even 3. At which point your mental, your mental clarity is not as much as it was when you submitted the petition. So it's important for you to review your documents and make sure that you remember. And if it's a marriage interview, for God's sake, please prepare with your spouse, because I tell you, people have varying recollections. I've been married for 21 years now. I'm telling you, if you ask my husband and I certain questions, we are not going to remember it the same way. That's just human nature. But USCIS doesn't always agree with that. Sometimes you answer a question wrong and it sends them off into this rabbit hole where they're thinking that for sure this must not be a legitimate relationship. You really want your immigration process to be as easy as possible, because it's already a stressful it's already a stressful location because you're waiting, you're anxious about making sure everything fits. You want to move on with your life, or you're waiting for this. So you want to make sure that you're preparing for your interview, reading your forms, going over marriage interview questions, and making sure that you and your spouse remember things, because typically men don't remember certain things. They're not going to remember what you gave them for Valentine's Day the year before, but you may. So those are things you want to discuss. You're not sure what they're going to ask you, but at least you can just go over the main things, which they're always going to ask you. How did you meet? Who proposed to who? What is the daily routine? Sometimes they'll ask you questions about where you live, what is the color of the refrigerator, that kind of stuff. And I know when people are nervous, sometimes they answer questions in really crazy ways. So another thing is just to be calm. The best way to go for an interview is to make sure that you go with an attorney, because if they do a spokes interview where you're separated, your attorney is with you at your interview and with your spouse at their interview. And the reason I say this is because for some reason, USCIS sometimes takes the opportunity during a Stokes interview to create doubt in the mind of the American spouse. They start off by telling them, oh, do you know your spouse really has a wife or husband in their country, and they're only here because they're trying to get their green card, and they're going to dump you as soon as they're done. And, honestly, that is so offensive to me, because, a lot of clients have told me that they had a really great relationship with their spouse, good marriage, but that after that interview, their spouse started checking up on them, asking, just distrusting them. And marriage is hard enough without having somebody with authority trying to tell your spouse that your marriage is not legitimate. So it's important to go with an attorney, because they don't do that stuff, when they're with an attorney, at least not without facts. At least I haven't seen that. So so let me answer some questions. Michael Tete says, my visitor's visa expired March 2023. Can I file asylum? So Michael, filing asylum is not dependent on when. The question you really should be asking is, do I qualify to file for asylum? So to file for asylum, you have to show that you have a fear of persecution, or you have suffered persecution in your country. So that's the basis of filing an asylum. And if you can't answer yes to that question, your asylum is likely to be denied, right? You're likely to face deportation proceedings unless you have an alternate pathway. So like I said, if asylum requires you to file within a year, but it goes a little further. It's not just the time to file, it's the basis of filing. Okay, Michael, I hope that answered your question. Let's see if I can get a couple more questions before. I think Instagram is frozen. Oh, why is Instagram frozen? I can't. Okay, let's see. I don't see any questions on Instagram, and I'm not able to scroll up. So I think that's really all I have to say for today, guys. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them on the comment section. I typically will come back, take a look at them, and I will respond to them either there or either there or later. Pacharado from Instagram says, can you still authenticate your divorce decree after 3-4 years of submission to USCIS? Pacharado, I recommend that you do, because you're authenticating it just in case there's a problem, in case USCIS says there's a problem with it, not because there's a deadline. Authenticating it just means going back to the source that granted the divorce decree and making sure that it complies with USCIS requirement for the divorce decree from that country. So Buckle Erica says, can I get approval for T status? So Buckle, a T status is trafficking. So can you apply for T status? Do you qualify for T status? Do you qualify to file for a T visa? So you should talk to an attorney. We do a lot of T visas here. Call my office, 973-993-1900. Let's see if you qualify. So Kensman's official says, what document does someone need before they file for I-130 and I-485? So Kensman, it depends on what the basis of your petition is. Is it your spouse filing for you in a marriage petition, in which case you have to have bona fides, you have to have proof that your spouse is a U.S. citizen or green card holder, you have to have affidavits of support and, identification documents, birth certificates and all that. You also have to have proof of how you, the beneficiary, came into the United States, because if you came in through the border, you can adjust your status and all that, okay? So somebody says, what's the wait time for work permit through VAWA? It really depends. We've been seeing VAWA work permits anywhere from 5 to 10 months after filing the VAWA petition. Sand says, is it okay to fly domestic flight with valid passport but undocumented? Sand, right now, I haven't heard that there's a problem, but it could become a problem in the future. And actually, I think it will become a problem in the future because they're trying to change that, change the ability to fly with just, either your driver's license or just your passport. But then, to my knowledge, they're not enforcing that. They're not holding people for flying if they're undocumented. But I do understand that some people are very anxious about that. And, I think you might want to really actually check to know where you're coming from and where you're going to see if you've heard anything. Because I haven't heard anything, but that does not mean that it's not happening. Okay. So Elsa Choi says, what is the implication? I have only 3 minutes more. Oh my God, the question okay. What's the implication if my submitted IRS transcript is just the petitioner as head of household? So I have to get more information. What are you concerned about? If the petitioner is head of household, or are you there as a spouse? What are you concerned about? It's not clear to me what you're concerned about. So B Billionaire says, what is the wait time for citizenship? I have yet to receive my 10, but I qualify for naturalization. So citizenship is going really fast, Billionaire. It's going really fast. We are applying for naturalization for people, and they're getting called for naturalization interviews within 2 months and getting their naturalization. So this is a time to file because this is an election year, and they're really moving fast on naturalization. So guys, thank you for joining me. I am sorry, but I gotta go now, but I will hopefully try to come in tomorrow. I'm gonna, fingers crossed, okay? And for those who need to call my office, if you need immigration assistance, call 973-993-1900. Please call the phone number. And if you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, please make sure that you're following the verified account, which has the VCheck, okay? Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.